The KRGS Doors Show, proudly brought to you by KRGS Doors. For all your shopfront roller shutters, roller grills, folding closures and bifold doors, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au. Welcome to the KRGS podcast. I'm your host, Drew Blackman. The aim of our podcast is to talk to cool people with cool stories, whether it be our suppliers, customers, staff, other business owners, or people from different walks of life, and get to know them a bit better. If you're interested in coming on, drop us a line or email or connect with us on Facebook and we can have a chat to see what we can do. Today I'm joined by KRGS Managing Director Clayton Blackman, and our guest on the KRGS podcast today is one of our suppliers, Jason Durie from Jaydee Fasteners. He supplies all our nuts, bolts, rivets and the like, along with other bits and pieces such as Vaseline by the drumful. We've been a customer of Jaydee's for 11 years, and it all started by him door knocking on our factory and offering to supply us goods. So we tested his price and service, and he is still here 11 years later. Along with owning his own business, he is a mad Sydney Roosters fan, so he was lucky to get in the door today, and considers Nick Politis and Mark Burris good mates. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the KRGS podcast, Mr. Jason Durie. Welcome, Jaydee. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me in.
It's a pleasure to have you here. As I mentioned, you're one of our suppliers and you have been for 11 years now. What is the Jason Durie story?
Divorced, 2 kids, 2 girls, aged 13, and the youngest one will be nearly 12 on Valentine's Day, to be precise. She started high school yesterday, year 7.
Big day.
Yeah, big day. Big day. Very excited, actually, which was surprising. So,
yeah, that's good.
But she had a cracking day, which was good. So, yeah, I live in Ryde, which is nice and central for work. Gets me out of the west nice and easy, down here nice and easy. So, yeah, no, that's about my story.
So, Jaydee Fasteners, as I mentioned, you supply nuts, bolts, locks, rivets, that type of thing. How did you start in the fixings industry?
Oh, it's a funny story. My old man was in the fastener industry as long as I can remember, owned his own business called Associated Screw Company. I came out of school and I wanted to be a landscaper or a gardener, so I got involved in gardening. Once a fortnight I'd get an RDO and I'd go to the old man's factory and mow his lawns for him at the factory. And this one particular day I had the big walk-behind mower, which is the same size as a ride-on, but it's got gear, so you put it in the gear and it takes off itself and you just walk behind it. Anyway, I walked too close to the front of it and chopped half my toe off. Spent 2 weeks in hospital, and while I was in there, the old man was in Hong Kong at the time. He rang me from Hong Kong and he said, "Oh, what have you done?" I told him. I said, "I'm done with this lawn mowing." So he said, "Oh, come and work for me." So I spent 3 or 4 years for him. Realised that working for your family, not the greatest idea. So for me, my old man anyway, got out of the industry, did something else for a few years, then got back in, worked for a company for about 3 or 4 years, and then started Jaydee Fasteners.
Did the toe made affect your sidestep, or?
It actually made it better.
Yeah?
It made it.
What, when you broke away, was your father still involved, was he still in the industry or not?
He was still in the industry. What happened just before I did break away, a lady that my old man had working in accounts actually embezzled about $200,000 out of the old man's business.
Wow.
He was on his knee, didn't know what to do. Another guy from who had a fastener company in Melbourne actually wanted to get into the Sydney market, so made the old man an offer and ended up buying my old man's business. My old man, as part of the contract, had to stay on and work for him for 2 years. He hated every day of that. Then once that 2 years was over, my old man then went and bought into another fastener company, which now my sister and brother-in-law are running.
Oh, wow. Where was his factory at, mate, originally?
Smithfield, Hassel Street.
Hassel Street, yep.
Yeah.
Another one.
So my old man had a very up and down life when it comes to work, that is for sure.
When you broke away, did you just thought, I can do this better, or I want to work, sick and tired of working for the man?
Exactly. I worked for him for 3.5 years. I doubled his sales in that time, and he just kept promising me a wage increase, promising me this, promising me that. None of that came about. One of my good customers at the time, probably one of my best customers at the time, called me up and said, "I want to see you." So I went in and sat down in his office, and he said, "I don't know who you work for. I've never spoken to anybody at that office. I don't even know their phone number. I deal with you directly via your mobile. So here's an order for next month." And the order was for, I think, about $7,500, $8,000 worth of stuff. which was their average monthly order. And he said, as you can see, I haven't put a name at the top of it. I want you to leave here. I want you to go to Parramatta. They were at Granville. And I want you to register a business name and then come straight back. Tell me what your name is and I'll write it at the top of the order. And that order can be yours. So I was like, I hadn't even thought about starting up my own business. So I was nervous as hell.
So one of your customers put you in the right direction and said, hey, you should be doing this for yourself.
You should be doing this for yourself.
Wow.
And so I left Granville. I drove to Parramatta. The whole way there, I'm thinking, what am I going to call my business? How am I going to tell my employer that what I'm doing? All these things were going through my head. Anyway, I registered a business name. I drove back. He wrote it at the top and he said, there you go. Supply it next month.
Jaydee Fasteners started that way.
It was born.
That day.
And how many years ago is that?
20 years ago last year.
20 years. Jaydee.
19th of August, 1999.
Yeah, you remember days like that.
So that's how Jaydee Fasteners came about.
And then, so similar to us, you just went around knocking on doors of factories saying, hey, do you need nuts, bolts, screws, the like?
Exactly.
Can I offer them to you?
Yeah. I was lucky enough that I'd build up a good client base working for the previous guy. And so I went to all of them and I said, look, this is what's happening. I respect your decision if you decide to stay with them, but I'm going out on my own. I'd love to have you as a customer, but again, if you decide to stay, that's fine. I respect that decision. I was lucky enough that every single one of them came over, so that was a good starting base for me. Just build up from that up to where I am now.
That's that main point of you being the face and being out there and inside the factory going, hey, how can I help you? Because it's a huge thing even for us. You come in here now and we don't really talk nuts and bolts or screws. No. We talk footy.
Exactly.
Going, how bad are the Roosters going and what a rort they are with the salary cap.
Yeah, two premierships in a row. First side since 92, 93.
Yeah, similar to St George when they won 11 straight.
Was that was before TV, wasn't it?
Possibly. But that's the thing. That's the thing, building that relationship and the like of knowing the customer and knowing their requirements.
Yeah, getting to a point where you don't talk about work.
No.
You just talk about more so mates now than supplier and customer. You know what I mean? So,
correct.
And that's a big plus. To get to that point is a big plus.
So how many employees do you have under Jaydee Fasteners, and is Fasteners the only type of thing that you provide?
I am the sole employee, the man. I do everything.
HR, the accounts, the sales.
Absolutely everything.
The janitor, the cleaner.
The janitor, cleaner. And I've got to say the accounts is probably the hardest part. Chasing dough, I'm too nice of a person. I really struggle with that side of it. So now I just send an email because I hate calling and asking. So... But, sole employer, sole person, one-man operation.
One-man band.
No, I sell anything the customer wants, really. If they ring and say, can you supply this, I will try and source it. I will...
Vaseline?
Vaseline, anything you like. I'll deliver you lunch if you want.
Okay.
That's called Uber Eats.
Yeah, that's right.
Jaydee Eats.
Jaydee Eats, there you go.
That might be another business.
No,
there's a branch.
It's funny how you sort of branch out. Like I never thought I'm now selling door handles. I'm selling vacant engaged locks for toilet doors, because people just ring and say, can you get these for us?
They want a one-stop shop.
Yeah. And I say, no worries. And I'll turn over everything I can to get them and say, here's how much I can sell them to you. What do you think? And they go, yep, that's fine. Here's an order. And so going from fasteners to tapes to silicons, and it's just branched out now. And, had I thought 5-10 years ago that I'd be selling stuff that I'm selling now, I would have thought, you're crazy. Yeah. But it's just how it evolves.
One thing that's always impressed me, Jaydee, with you, we give you a screw and you hold it against your finger or whatever, and you go, that's 75 mil or that's 60 mil. Or I'm going, how the bloody hell does he know this? Like, the bloke's a freak. Like, how's he hold it against his finger and know that that's 50 mil?
Well, roughly the line in the middle finger, your crease lines is about 25 mil, roughly. So I go from that.
He's actually got a tape measure tattooed on the inside.
The bloke's a freak. He comes out, that's a 50 mil and that's 70. I'm going, how the bloody hell does he know all that?
It helps when he goes fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll just get out the Onkaparinga, have a look at that.
But that is one thing, you're right, because not knowing and the different threads and metric and sizes and everything like that, and we just send you it, and then 2 days later, 3 boxfuls turn up with them, knowing, yep, that's what we wanted exactly. So that is one thing that's very impressive, knowing what you know in that industry.
It's not so much knowing what I know; it's knowing what your customers buy, and it gets back to customer service. It's like your old man could ring me and say, "I've bought these off you before. Okay, explain the head." It's a hex head. Okay, how long is it from under the head? Yeah, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is because I know what
we've been doing it for so long.
Exactly.
The biggest challenges you face being a small, medium business and being a one-man band, what's the biggest challenge you find?
Probably the accountancy type side of things. You know, like trying to keep up with all the information that the accountant needs to keep the business running, like BAS and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I've employed a bookkeeper now, and I've gone into, finally, after years of her begging me, I've gone into the cloud.
Oh,
so
wow.
she can do stuff that I don't want anything to do with. But previously to going into the cloud, I found that the hardest part. I'd be getting emails from the accountant saying I need all this information. And so it'd take me half a day to try and get all this information together and email it back to him. And so for me, that's the hardest part of being self-employed is
and that's time away from you being on the road,
Exactly.
out seeing customers or new customers or, chasing work and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So that's probably and getting work when times are tough. Getting new clients is very hard because you'll walk in and you say, oh, you know, I want to sell you this, this and this. And they'll say, well, mate, if we had work to give you, we'd give it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
how do you see the industry at the moment? Are they, is it up and down, or some customers are busy, some customers are not?
Exactly. I think some industries are going gangbusters, others not so, you know. So, and that's why for me especially, it's good to have a broad spectrum of different industries. So if one industry is going good, it's going to carry you with the other industries that aren't going so good. At the moment, I think work's going okay.
And you've always got room, obviously, to look at new clientele and looking for new clientele?
It's a tricky one. I pride myself on service. So
you do?
That's my biggest draw card to any of my clients, is that I pride myself on service. So if I now go out and get 10 extra clients, new clients, that's going to affect my service that I provide. And
you don't want to water it down.
Exactly. And so then my existing clients are going to say, well, your deliveries have gone, you know, we used to get it next day. Now we're getting it 2 or 3 days later because I'm stretching myself too thin. So it's a tricky one.
You don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
Better to keep your existing clients and try and sell more products to them rather than go out and get new clients, if you know what I mean.
So in that, have you ever turned down a client saying, hey, no, I can't supply you?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did at the start of last year, and it made it hard because they were lifelong mates of mine. They were going through a bad time financially, and they couldn't keep up the payments. And so I told them, I talked to them, and I said, look, I can't carry you. I'm not a bank. So if this continues, I'm going to give you another 3 months. And if it doesn't change, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to walk away. Yeah, I've known these 2 brothers for my whole entire life. So it was a tough decision, but a bit in business, and this is how I explained it. I said, look, you 2 run a business. From a business point of view, this makes no sense for me. And they said, yeah, they agreed, and they said, yeah, we understand. And I said, look, if you need help, if you obviously got to go and find a new fastener supplier now, run it by me, ring me up, say, yeah, they're all right, they're no good. Turned down a couple over the last probably 3 years where I just think I'm working too hard and I'm not making any money out of it.
It doesn't make sense.
No. Like I had another bloke who was a fencing, and I was shipping screws to Western Australia, Queensland, Melbourne and Adelaide, and the freight was just killing me. And so I rang them and I said, look, I've done this for 6 months. I've done a cost analysis. If I want to keep supplying you, here's my new prices. And they said no. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to walk away. At the end of the day, you've got to work smart, not hard. So
you're not there to lose money, mate.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Just back on when Clayton said about business, do you find when we have a natural disaster, such when recently here in Sydney and New South Wales, we've had bushfires and that type of thing, your business picks up because there's more building work because people need to rebuild their house and things like that, as unfortunate it is. Do you find your business picks up in that sense?
I'm not really involved in the residential side of construction. I'm more in big buildings and stuff like that. But there is a ripple effect, yes. so it comes through the system. So, yeah, I'd say yes.
Okay.
I'd say yeah.
And if you had one piece of advice for someone just starting out, so someone says, hey, I want to start a small business, or I want to start even a fastening company, what would it be?
Just simply go for it. Dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you got everything in place before you press the go button. But if you think you've got a good foundation, just go for it and get a bookkeeper.
Early advice.
Which you learn after 19 years.
Exactly.
So away from work, how do you relax?
Footy and beer.
Footy and beer?
Footy
that
and beer.
order?
Not necessarily in that order.
No, not necessarily in that order. I've got to keep a couple of, as I mentioned earlier, I've got a couple of daughters that keep me very grounded. I don't watch much telly outside of footy season. Footy season, I'd watch every game if I could, but yeah, so I love my footy, any sport in particular, cricket, an odd beer.
An odd beer?
Do your daughters into the footy, mate?
I have one, my oldest, yeah, she gets right into it. My youngest, not so much. She, oh, you're watching the footy again, Dad, whereas my oldest will sit down with me and watch it. They're sort of backwards and forwards between Roosters and Tigers. Growing up in the Ryde area, they went to Putney Public School, and Luke Brooks, some of the Tigers players came to the school, a couple of days, and so they were all...
Fell in love with Brooksy.
Fell in love with
Starstruck.
Brooksy. So, and Brooksy's mum is actually a teacher at the school.
Okay.
Yeah, and both my daughters had her as a teacher. So they got a soft spot for the Tigers. I'm trying to get that out of them. I got a soft spot for the Tigers myself. So one yes, one not so much.
Now, to finish off, we ask our guests our fast 5 questions. So it's just 5 questions, and it's probably the first thing that pops into your mind. So what would be your last meal?
Duck.
Duck.
Any sort of duck.
Any sort of duck, okay.
Crispy skinned duck, how's that?
I wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't expecting that either.
What we expected.
I wasn't expecting duck, but
What, a sausage sandwich?
something, I don't know, mate, but a bloke that loves beer and footy and duck.
You may have already answered this one. Your drink of choice.
Great Northern, super crisp, mid-strength. Have to drink mid-strength. I'm hopeless on full strength. Absolutely hopeless.
End up talking shorthand.
Oh, after 3.
After 3. Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Either Matt Damon or James Maloney.
Oh, Jimmy Maloney would be a good one.
Maloney,
Yeah.
I have been told I look a little
Yeah,
bit
you do
like
look
You
like
do
Jimmy
a bit
Maloney,
Jimmy
yeah.
Maloney. And you've probably got the same sense of humour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say let's scrap Matt Damon. Let's go with Jimmy,
Jimmy
Maloney.
Maloney, same sort of swagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy always wins.
Exactly.
He'd do it justice too, I reckon. He'd be
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd have to give him a few pointers, but yeah, he'd go all right.
Yeah.
Well, you've probably given him a few pointers in rugby league too, knowing
Exactly.
your pedigree.
Prowess.
Yes. 3 famous people, dead or alive, you would have over for dinner.
Well, I've got to query this. Does one of these people have to cook?
No.
No.
We've got
Okay.
someone bringing in duck.
Okay, so Jeff Jance is out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to
And
have,
McGill. Well, he's on the jungle, so you don't have to get McGill.
Exactly. I'd have to go Robin Williams, without a doubt. Billy Connolly. If I don't need a cook, I'll go Halle Berry.
Jesus, be some comedy
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
between you and them other two.
Yeah.
Hey?
Halle Berry couldn't get a word in.
No, she'd be just there for the good looks, but
Yeah.
yeah, imagine the comedy. Billy
yes.
Connolly, he'd be good.
Oh, yeah, he'd be outstanding.
Yeah.
I saw him live, and I don't think I've been to a funnier concert. Oh, he was just incredible. I was on the floor in front of my seat, just curled up, just laughing my guts.
I was watching telly the other day, and he was doing something on telly, but he
His
just glued.
stories.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
He is so good. Like he'll be halfway through telling you a story, and then he'll branch off and start a whole new story, and then he'll finish that, and he goes, "Oh, where was I? Oh, that's right, I was over there."
Yeah. I
Come
don't know
back
how
to
he
it.
remembers it.
Come back to it.
Bloke's a freak.
Yeah.
Robin Williams would be good too.
Yeah, imagine them two together.
Oh, mate, jeez.
You would not get a word in.
No.
And finally, if heaven does exist, what would God say when you arrived at the pearly gates?
We've been expecting you.
Very good. Well, that's it, JD. Thank you very much for coming in. How can people find you if they want to get in touch, if they're looking for a fastener supplier or after some Vasso?
I'm in the midst of building a website, finally, which will be up and running hopefully in the next 3 months.
How good's this? He's going bookkeeper,
Cloud.
website. He'll be on Facebook next.
Cloud. There'll be, we've got a
You on Snapchat yet or not?
No.
we've got a real Bill Gates on our hand here.
Wow.
So we might put that up when it's released.
Yes, definitely.
But
in
again-
the meantime, just mobile, email. That's probably the best way.
Okay, well, I'll put that into the show notes. If you're after a fastener supplier who offers first-class service, get in touch with Jaydee. Again, thank you very much for coming in today, mate. We do appreciate it. We'll chat next time.
Thanks very much for having me, boys.
Pleasure, mate. Cheers.
Righto.
That wraps up our chat with Jaydee from Jaydee Fasteners. If you are wanting to get in touch with him, his number is 0414 861 820. Thank you for joining us. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Till next time, cheers. The KRGS Doors Show, proudly brought to you by KRGS Doors. For all your shopfront roller shutters, roller grills, folding closures and bifold doors, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au.